surprise you and helps you fix them. What's in your wallet?
Let's talk about the players who are going to be there and who we think are going to play a significant role in 2020, because we've gone through this a couple times, Chris, where we've talked, we were asked, what is the most talented roster in the NFL? Which team is the most talented? You've addressed it a couple times. You said the Ravens. I think your dad said the Ravens too, didn't he? Did your dad say it was the Ravens?
He did, and we didn't even prepare him for that or anything. He kind of just said it, right?
So we know they're number one for you. I've also kind of scrapped together a top five. I always like to do this from time. Just keep you on your toes a little bit.
Oh,
you know,
I love it. Well, first off, no, I don't sit here and just think that, my word is law. So I like to hear what you think. And I think legitimately, my top five, I feel like there's three teams that should be in just about everybody's top five. And then I think, there's a number of teams that you could put in as that, 4 or 5 spots.
See, when you say that there are three teams that should be in everyone's top five, that makes me nervous.
Makes you nervous. I know. Yeah. I said it to make you nervous because you're going, do I have one of those three teams? Or
but I have reasons.
Oh, you got to dig that off? What is you doing?
You may be wrong. Hold on.
You sound nervous. I know that. That's what
you've got me all frazzled now, and I'm not doing a pitch check. So you got me all freaked out. So let's go. Let's alternate here. And we'll do this once again where if I have a team on my list, you can chime in on all my teams that I picked here. But if they're also on your list, you can wait to give your reasons until we get to them on your list.
They gave him that. That's bullshit.
I like it. So let's go. Let's just start with your number 5. Let's start with your number 5 most talented team. So what are the rules for this real quick? This is just, talent on the roster. This is not scheme. This is not head coach. This is just how good of football players are on your team, right?
That's exactly right. Top level talent, take into some consideration some depth and everything like that. You're right, but nothing to do with coaching and scheme. Nothing. So my number 5 team is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. The 8-8 Dallas Cowboys. And I know people out there, the first thing they're going to say, well, they didn't make the playoffs last year. Okay. Well, I think they've shown why they didn't think they made the playoffs. The organization didn't like the coaching, and nor did I. How many times did you hear me say, Dallas just goes out and plays. They just think they're the Dallas Cowboys, and we're better, and we're just going to beat you because we got bigger and faster guys. Okay, yeah, your guys are bigger and faster, but not by so much that you can just come out with the normal, same bullcrap game plan every week. It's not by that great of a amount. It's the NFL. There's a salary cap. No team is that much greater. I mean, so I still look at them though, and you just go through it and you go, okay, offensive line. Well, we know that's special. Running back.
Let's go, Ramsey. That's what I'm talking about. Play that defense, boy.
Wide receiver. Damn, they just got CD Lamb in the draft to go along with the receivers they got. That's a pretty damn good group. So tight end play. All right, we'll see it's a little improvement, but there's some young talent there. We know the quarterback's good. So, on the defensive side, and Dexter Lawrence, I know they lost the pass rusher, but I still look at their D-line and go, man,
what the
there's
fuck?
a lot of depth and a lot of physical specimens on their D-line that excite me. And then, as you get into linebackers, you can argue there's some freshmen, right? You can argue it's one of the best duos in football as far as that's concerned. And then even the secondary. So, yeah, I know the safeties aren't something you write home about, but, Chidobe Awuzie, Jordan Lewis, Anthony Brown, they just drafted Diggs from Alabama. I just look at them and go, there's just really not a spot on their roster that I look at and go, ooh, it's an issue. I'm really concerned about it. And then I do think the coaching's going to take them over the top. I do. And that's why I'm expecting a big year from the Cowboys.
Dallas kept popping up for me, too, when I was looking at some of the different position groups out there.
Dallas ain't going to do
not
shit.
Identical, because I do not have the Cowboys in my top 5. They were honorable mention. They're not in my top 5, so we already have our first discrepancy. My number 5 team, most talented roster in the NFL, in 2020, the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm putting the Los Angeles Chargers in here. They barely make the cut. You look at the secondary, Desmond King, you got Derwin James, You got wide receivers with Keenan Allen, who you also don't like Devontae Adams, but he is there for May and Mike Williams. Yeah, I think the line.
Oh, come on. Both of y'all got jammed up on the thing?
Add that and stir that pot there. Sure, but I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, Joey Bosa. I mean, you got Chris Harris Jr. I kept looking at him, and I was like, I didn't want to put him in there because I feel like to have a top 5 roster, a quarterback is so important, and they have questions at quarterback here. But I was like, man, they're solid pretty much everywhere else, it seems like.
They are. I mean, I think there's some star power. There's better depth on the team than you realize. I think in my this is one of my honorable mentions. I mean, I wrote them down here, and I think what stopped me was the quarterback. Okay, running back I like, but I'm not like, oh wow, that's one of the best of football. O-line is a concern for me. That's probably the biggest thing that I just got a little scared of. And then, other than that, you named it. The defense is stacked. Not an impressive linebacking core, but they did just draft the first rounder, Kenneth Murray, who's impressive. I mean, we got to see him play. I like what they did there, but yeah, I think this is secretly one of the more talented teams in football. I'm glad you put them on your list.
I didn't expect to put him on there either. That was not one of the teams that I initially thought was going to be in there, but yeah, they were good enough. All right, your number 4, Chris.
Well, I'm going to New Orleans. I'm going with the Saints. The Saints are going to be my number 4 team. I'm old school. First thing I look at always is O-line and D-line. That's the first thing I do. And I go, damn, there's the Saints. Definitely one of the 5 best offensive lines in football. Defensive line, okay, maybe not top 5, but, it's not far down the list from there. And they got some difference makers. They got a lot of big bodies. They got a lot of different linebackers.
Nice, you gotta get on that shit.
Shutdown corner and Marshawn Lattimore. Malcolm Jenkins and some of the safeties they got. I mean, so I look at their defense and just go, I don't really see a position that I look at and go, man, they're in trouble right there. I mean, Malcolm Jenkins with Marcus Williams, right? They're their safety play. We know about offensively, of course, Drew Brees and Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston, one of the best quarterback rooms in football. Running backs, we know, is pretty damn good with Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray. Tight end play with Jared Cook. Maybe the best receiver in football with Michael Thomas, along with Manuel Sanders. Yeah. So, when I look at them, I got to put them in the top 5. I do. They got it all, is what I'm saying.
So I will not reveal my number 4 team. I'm going to reveal my number 3 team, which was the New Orleans Saints. I'm a little surprised because I almost put him number 2. Because you go up and down the roster, offensive line, Eric McCoy, Larry Warford,
right.
Ryan Ramczyk, their tackle there. And it doesn't seem Cam Jordan on the defensive side. You're right. You go to every position group, and you're like, wow, that's a guy that a lot of other teams would like to have. So I'm a little surprised. I mean, top 5 is top 5. It's still very good that they're not a little higher, but I had him as number 3. You think they're getting old?
Some of that, certainly. I mean, Drew Brees and his age, Emmanuel Sanders getting up there, Cam Jordan getting up there, certainly. I mean, yeah, there's some of that, definitely. And then I'm not mad at you for having him at number 3. You're not. I'm not. I mean, I'll when we get to my number 3 here, I'll give you the reason.
Oh, come on. Y'all blocked them.
I think the big thing is kind of what you said, though. You added Janoris Jenkins to the cornerback position, and then when you get into the amount of big bodies they have, like you said, I mean, holy cow, it's just unbelievable. And that's where they win a lot of their games. We talk about Sean Payton and Brees and Kamara and all that, but there's just never a game where the Saints go on a field and they're physically outmatched by anybody.
Pick that.
And I think that's where the specialness of their roster really starts.
Y'all are great, man. Y'all are so great.
5 so far. Then you got Saints 4. They were my number 3. What is the Chris Sims number 3?
You are great, man.
I'm going with the Super Bowl champs at number 3. All right? And I almost made them number 2. Okay, but the team I put at number 2, I thought their roster was a little bit better, but the Patrick Mahomes factor makes you like
Pick that off.
almost give the Chiefs
Fucking suck,
the
Taylor.
tiebreaker with just about anything, right?
Don't give it away yet. Don't give it away yet.
I'm not going to give it away. But yeah, I am going the Chiefs at number 3. You know, again.
I thought you were going. Okay, you're going Chiefs number 3 here. Okay, I get it.
I am. I'm going Chiefs number 3. I almost made them 2, is what I was trying to say.
I see.
Because of Mahomes, it was so close 2 and 3. Like, but the Chiefs have Mahomes. Maybe I should make them number 2. But you know, ultimately, I mean, skill positions. Come on, out the wazoo. We know that. Offensive line, one of the best pass protecting O lines in all of football. Yes, they lose Duvernay Tardif. That stinks. But 2 really good tackles. You know, arguably the best right tackle in the game, and Mitchell Schwartz. You know, so you look at that, and then the running back situation, Hyde Edwards-Helaire. You know, hey, the offense is set. Defense, you know, not like the steel curtain, but playmakers. No, I just look at Frank Clark and Chris Jones and some of the other players they have on the D-line who were good football players, but the Honey Badger and the Bashad Breelands in the secondary, and you know, the young kid they drafted, Juan Thornhill at safety.
Come on,
man. Look at the Chiefs and still think it's one of the best in the sport.
You were not mad at me for having the Saints 3 instead of 4. Will you be mad at me if I don't have the Chiefs in my top 5 at all? Will that make you mad at me?
Yes, it will. Yes.
What if I say that Patrick Mahomes is so good and Andy Reid is so good, and of course they have Tyreek Hill, playmaker on offense, but those 2 guys are so good that they, despite not having a top 5 roster, they make it look like they do. And the defensive side of the ball is a step back. I understand they do have some playmakers on the defensive side, but I just considered Patrick Mahomes being so elite and Andy Reid being so good that I know they're talented. I just feel like they probably aren't even the most talented team, or one of the top 5 most talented teams in the NFL. Are you less mad at me now than you were 30 seconds ago before I started that little rant?
No, I'm not. I'm not less mad at you. Because what I would say to you, just to argue that point, right? And again, I'm not sitting here. I think it's easy to fall in that trap. I think it is very easy. And what I would tell you is before Patrick Mahomes even got to the Chiefs, or no, wait, sorry, he was on the Chiefs and on the bench holding the clipboard, they were the number 2 team in the AFC, in the AFC playoffs. So, you know, Alex Smith wasn't carrying them. I can tell you that, all right? He wasn't that kind of guy. So that's where I would just push back a little bit. I would. You know, I think when you get into receivers down the line, Sammy Watkins and McCole Hardman and Travis Kelce, they don't count as far as your evaluation. You're just going to just totally gloss them over and just give Tyreek and Mahomes all the credit.
What? Who is that?
I am.
Nicole Rowe, get the fuck out of here.
Top 5 talented teams in the NFL. There are like 10 top 5 talented teams in the NFL.
Oh, look at you. You plagiarized.
I've learned the game. I've learned the game. No, they're obviously good. I'll give them that. But they got the Super Bowl. They don't need to be in Ahmed's top 5. Honestly, they've already had enough accolades here. So maybe that'll motivate them too.
Fucking that pissed me off with that bullshit. Nicole Rowe.
That's probably what'll do it.
Get the fuck out of here.
Top 5 most talented teams. But I think, you know, even some of the positions we don't talk, like Charvarius Ward, we don't talk about him. He's a really damn good corner. You know, Honey Badger, yeah, we hit him. They got other guys, though, along their roster where I go, you know, we don't give them much talk or respect because we're always talking about some of the superstars. And that's where, you know, the Mike Pennells of the world, you know,
what the fuck are you
Passam
doing,
Yawns and things like that.
Why would you go get that fucking ball? What is wrong with you?
Linebacker. You know, even positions we think they're weak at, I look at it and go, they're not that weak. They're just maybe not superstars. It's still damn good. So, yeah, I went with the Chiefs.
We got a note from Pete here, a small correction. Larry Warford is not on the Saints anymore. He's a free agent, and he opted out. But I'm still sticking with them as my...
Well, their O-line is still great. It doesn't really matter. Your point was still there. Andrews Pete, Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk. You know, they just drafted a first-round center, Ruiz, out of Michigan.
Well, that's right, yeah.
Right. So don't worry. Your point's still real. But, yeah, Larry Warford's at home.
My number 4 team, I'm going to go back to number 4 here, that probably is our difference here between the Chiefs. And I'm curious to see what you're going to say about this one. As far as a talent standpoint, I'm putting number 4 in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm putting the Philadelphia Eagles at number 4 with Lane Johnson, even though he did just test positive here. We're giving him the go-ahead there. That offensive line is so good. I'm just looking through it right now. Brandon Brooks and Jason Peters and Jason Kelsey. Then you got Fletcher Cox, one of your favorite players out there. Tight ends, Goddard and Ertz. And then you love Carson Wentz. I still think he's, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. So I put them in the top 5. I put them at number 4 most talented team in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team, again, they're on my short list here. I think, the big thing is, talented quarterback, talented tight ends, right, O-line, real good. I'm a little worried about it without Brandon Brooks, and now Jason Peters, it sounds like he's going to have to play guard and do all of that. But, yes, it's still one of the better O-lines in football. D-line, you're right. A lot of big bodies, and Malik Jackson's going to be in the fold this year, and hopefully he can stay healthy. So I hear you there. I guess what I would say is with the Brandon Brooks injury and all that, I would have said they were a top 5 O-line. I don't know if I believe that now. D-line, they have top 5 potential, but I don't know if I could say they're in the top 5 right now. Linebackers, okay. Corners, the addition of Darius Slay does change what you think about their defense a little bit. There's no doubt about that. You do lose a Malcolm Jenkins. So I think they're on the cusp of that. I don't think I would have put them quite that high on it, because also I just look at and go, okay, like the receivers. Yeah, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey are big household names, but how good are they really in this career? At this point of their career is just what I question, I guess is what I'm saying. And then I would also go, that's it. I guess it. And I like Miles Sanders at running back, but I don't sit there and go, oh, they're superstars at running back.
Skill positions. No, for sure. Skill positions are a problem. And this is what I always do. When I play Madden and video games, I turn off injuries. And so I'm putting Brandon Brooks is not injured in my mind when I'm doing this exercise here, because I think injuries suck. So I turn off all injuries and player opt-outs for that matter. So.
Oh, good. I hear you. When I used to play, I used to turn off injuries too. The hell with all that.
Why would you want to play? Right, exactly. I never figured out. Why would you ever want to play with it? I don't need that level of realism. Like, I hope that Madden doesn't incorporate the opt-outs and testing positive for COVID-19 in their next game. We don't need that level of realism. All right, so we got the final 2, and I feel like, we already know Ravens, and Ravens is my number 1 as well. So I think we agree on our top 2 here. Your number 2 team, talented team in the NFL is?
I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
I am. Is that who you went with too?
That's who I went with too, yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'd love to sit here and be Johnny Clickbait and come up with the different top 3 teams, but I don't feel that way. There's certain years that, hey, listen, I didn't have the Rams going to the playoffs last year. They came off a Super Bowl game. So, there was something about that team and that roster and where they were that I didn't love about that. I don't feel that way about these 2 Super Bowl teams this past year. I mean, I don't even think the 49ers have even reached their prime as a team. They were kind of young and up-and-comers, right? But, hey, let's just start off again. O-line, it's top-notch. And they didn't even have their starting center last year in Weston Richburg, who's one of the better centers in football. So he'll be back. It's almost like an improvement right there. Oh, damn, you lost Joe Stanley? Your team must be hurt. Oh, wait, you got Trent fucking Williams at left tackle? You got an upgrade over another Hall of Famer left tackle? I mean, so when you just look at the O-line, you go, insane. George Kittle, insane. Okay. You go to D-line. I just would go insane. I'm not going to sit there. I know they lost to Forrest Buckner. Well, they got Javon Kinlaw at pick 13, and the D-line was awesome no matter what, right? So linebackers, phenomenal. Safeties, really damn good. I think it's a top 5 safety duo in football. My man Rodney Harrison thinks it's an honorable mention right outside the top 5 with Tart and Jimmy Ward. Corners, solid but not great, okay? And then you go, we talked about O-line, but they got good damn running backs. We know they got at least 3 of them there, McKinnon, Tevin Coleman, and Mostert. We talked about Kittle. You got Garoppolo, who's, top 20 quarterback for sure. Debo Samuel is hurt right now. He will be back, certainly. The Brandon Ayuk kid, yeah, we'll see. Potential.
Yeah, wide receiver is if Debo's out for an extended period of time, or if he doesn't come back 100%, that's where the question mark is for me on the offensive side here.
It is definitely. You'll have to rely on some unproven commodities a little bit if that's the case. Where, they'll have to be Brandon Ayuk or Jalen Hurd, who they drafted out of Baylor, in the draft 2 years ago. Or even a Kendrick Bourne, who, proved himself worthy last year. But, that's one area where I looked at them, too. And not that I took into it. You're right, there's questions there. But I think it was one thing that made me feel a little bit better about it. I probably cheated from this aspect. I just went, man, Kyle knows how to get receivers open. He's done that everywhere. So even if they don't have...
Why'd you make me run, Commit? I promise you, I did not run, Commit. That's cheese. Fucking game.
I did.
And same reasons. That's why I put the 49ers
fucking
there.
Man,
but you still
why are
think
you
that
stuck
the Ravens,
in
and looking at it once again, the Ravens are still the most talented team in the NFL?
I do. I mean, arguably the best secondary. Definitely one of the biggest front sevens in football. Not that it's like just, laced with superstars. We talked about the O-line. That's really damn good. The tight ends are good. The running backs are good. Yeah, a little like San Francisco. The receivers don't blow you out of the water, but there's enough there that you go, ooh, they can be scary on a given day or a given game. And but yeah, I do think that Ravens is the most complete roster in all of football.
All right, so a couple more honorable mentions here that I looked at. I almost had Tennessee in there. I feel like their offensive line, and Ryan Tannehill, I think, is better than people give him credit for. Dory Jackson, one of the fastest players in the NFL in the secondary there on the defensive side. So I kind of like them. I kind of like Pittsburgh. And one of the teams that I kept looking at, too, that actually does have some talent, not quite enough to put them in my top 5, was Cleveland. They got some talented players.
I'm glad you said it. They were on... I wrote Seattle down here.
Yeah.
Seattle, ultimately, I went some unproven commodities on the D-line that I got to see first. O-line, is solid. Certainly better than it was, 2-3 years ago where it was a travesty. But I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it's a top 5 O-line or even a...
Dot.
Quite there yet. It's probably
Dot.
kind of a,
I'm throwing dot. I'm fucking mean with this throwing shit. It's hard as hell to stop the shit that I be throwing, bitch.
I said the same thing. They were on my short list here. And I think ultimately the big thing is, O-line a little.
Hey, Raw, you ain't never seen no shit like this on white.
We're gauging a little.
This shit here they can't find on YouTube.
We think these guys could be this and that and this and that. But I don't know if we've actually seen these guys.
You can't buy this defense in no ebook.
So
you can't buy that offense in no ebook, man.
Pete throws a question at you. He goes, if you traded Lamar Jackson for Jimmy,
we ain't allowed no that and none of that ebook shit.
So if you switch quarterbacks, with the 49ers have the most talented roster in the NFL.
Ooh, that's a good damn question. Because it is close. Oh, I think I would still go with the Ravens. I think I would. Obviously I think Lamar Jackson is greater than Jimmy Garoppolo. But I guess if I still like the Ravens roster better. And the thing I think that really puts it over the top of me and really solidifies them as number 1 is the depth they have. They're just one of those teams where I look at and just go, and if they lost 1 or 2 guys on the offense and defensive line, they're going to be okay. There's really not too many positions or injuries that are going to hurt them. And their weakness of their football team with the Ravens, to me, was the middle linebacker position, and they got a first rounder. And then they got another guy who I thought was a really damn good player out of Ohio State. Malik, I want to say Malik Harrison in the 4th round, who I thought was a really damn good player too. So
yeah, we on that. Yeah, I'm on that. You guard them out, route. We guard them. See, both of them. 2 men want to pick it. 2 men.
Because I mean, we always talk about the scheme and the coach, and you take that out of it, and you just try to look at a pure talent standpoint. Your top 5. We basically agreed there, Chris. A couple differences, but that was pretty good. You made me nervous.
I think we hit them. I think you hit all that. You know, I like that you mentioned Pittsburgh. You know, Pittsburgh's in that combo. They got their big thing is unproven commodities at the receiver position. If I felt better about the receivers, I might have really thought about putting them in the top 5.
Sure. This shit I do is deadly, Raw. I'll teach you this shit. Follow me.
And I think you heard my dad say this last week. It's the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, the Colts are a team, and again, I think it's...
You gotta have hot route master though. That one route, there's so much shit you can do to all the cheese blitzers and shit. I'll fucking cheese blitz up.
Talented guys that people don't know about yet. They got pretty good depth. And then, of course, some guys who I think are like 1st and 2nd year players where I go, ooh, I like this kid. I think he could be something. You know, we'll see whether they are something. But I just think it's a very well-constructed roster altogether.
I love your dad.
Good game, though, Raw. Good game, my boy.
As Phillip Rivers.
It ain't over. Good game.
And I didn't see that one. If they have a good year, that's going to be a huge story, is that Phillip Rivers resurrecting his career after a couple down years in L.A.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.
Good game, boys. Good fucking game. Good game, Rob. Get him off me. Tell him to get off you, that nigga threw. Yeah, you lucky he can't. That nigga threw goddamn. That nigga threw Reggie White to the ground. Like, Reggie, you ain't shit. Oh, are you for real? Are you? Oh, what the fuck just happened right there?